Good morning, everyone. Today we will be doing Chapter 6 Flow of Control from CBSE Computer Science Class 11. So, what is a flow of control? It is the order of execution of statements in a program. What I mean by this is what order takes place while executing a statement present in a program. So let's say we want to run a simple if-else program where if one condition is true, we will print some output, and if the other condition, else we print the other condition. Let's say we want to find if citizen is allowed to vote or not. So for that, what we'll do is we'll take the age from the user and after taking the age, we will check whether the given age falls below 18. If yes, then we will print that so what we'll do is we'll basically print that if the age of the user is below 18, we'll print that the user is not allowed to vote, else we'll print that the user is allowed to vote. Now let's say we let's say what we want to do is that we want to show if a number is positive, negative, or zero. So we'll input the number. Next, what we'll do is we'll check if the number double equals zero. Then we'll print zero. Elif number num elif elif num is less than zero. Then we print else we print positive. So let's say we run our piece of code where we enter a number. So since 5 is greater than 0, hence it's positive. Now it doesn't match condition 1, it's not equal to 0, it's not less than 0, then it only does the last possible condition, which is else, printing the number which is positive. Now in the chapter flow of control, we have an important section called indentation. Now what is indentation? So indentation is the white space at the beginning of a statement. What I mean by this is that let's say we want to write a piece of code that especially it's used for if and else. So if given condition is true, then an automatic indentation or the white space takes place right here. And after this white space only, we write, let's say if the given condition is true, print true. So that is how indentation basically works. So if one number is greater than the other number, then when we're writing the print command, it has to be after an indentation. Now, if we want to talk about repetition, we all know that let's say if we want to print a number from 1 to 100, so we can't write down print 1, print 2, print 3 100 times. Over here, we use iteration, which is basically just another type of repetition. So iteration is another type of repetition, and this is possible using loop to print a number, let's say 100 times. And how do we do that? So let's say we want to print a number 100 times. So what we can do is we take a variable, let's say count, and set its value as 1. Next, what we do is we print count and increase the value of count by 1. Now this is the logic used to find numbers, let's say from 1 to 100, and we repeat this until we get the desired number. Next, what we'll talk about is the for loop. So for loop is basically it is the statement used to iterate over a range of values or sequences, and it is executed for each of the items in the range. Now what I mean by this is that when with every iteration of the loop, there's a control variable which actually checks whether the each value of the range has been traversed or not. When they are exhausted, the items in the range, the statement in the loop is not executed, and it is transferred to the statement following the for loop. So what we do, let's say there's this question which wants us to write a program to print the characters which is present in the string of the word pi code using for loop. So what we'll do is we'll make a range. For range in, we'll define a string, let's say pi code, and we all know that after for there's an indentation, the white space which comes here. We print, let's say we want to print the letters in pi code. So what we'll do is we'll print for letter in pi code, we print the letter. So take a guess what this will do. So what this will do is it will print each letter in a new separate line. See, as you can see, pi code is printed in separate lines. Okay, now let's try doing another example. Let's say we want to print even numbers using for loop. What we'll do is, let's say we'll define a few numbers where num equal to, we'll make a dictionary 1 2 3 4 5. Now we'll see that we'll make a for loop where the numbers in num, so the numbers should be within num, so it can be either 1 2 3 4 or 5, and we check if the numbers which we're talking about are actually divisible by 2. If yes, we print the number is even. So that could be the numbers. So let's run this and check this out. So we have this dictionary, basically a list of five numbers, 1 2 3 4 5. Now if there are a few numbers which belongs in this list, then if the number is divisible by 2, or mod 2 shows that basically if the remainder is 0, because if a number is divisible by something, then the remainder has to be 0, then we print the number. So 2 divided by 2 gives a remainder of 0, while 3 divided by 2 gives a remainder of 1, while 4 divided by 2 gives a remainder of 0. So that's why only 2 and 4 are printed right here. Okay. Now we move on to the range function. So the syntax of a range function is given by start, stop, step, start, step, and stop. Now I'll explain what I mean by this. So a sequence of integers from the start value to the stop value, where the stop value is excluded with a difference of the step value, is used using the range function. And these three are actually parameters used. So let's say we want to, let's say for example, let's say we want to print for I in range to 10 comma 2. What this will basically do is that it will start from 2, it will end at 9, because the stop 1 is not excluded, so stop minus 1 is what it will get printed till, and with every time it is getting an increment of 2. So first it will be 2, then it will be 4, then 6, up till 8, because it can only run till 9, and 9 is not like a multiple of 2, so it will run from 2 till actually 8. Let's check this out. See, so 2 till 8 is run and 9 is not included. So this is the start, this is the stop, and this is the step. Step is basically the size of the jump which you're making. Now let's use the while loop. Let's talk about what a while loop is. So what a while loop is that it basically executes a block of code repeatedly as long as the control condition is true. Now it is executed before any statement inside the loop being executed. So what I mean by this is, I'll show you through another example. So let's say we want to print the first 5 natural numbers using while loop. So what we'll do is we'll declare count, which is the count. I've talked about it more in my intro to problem solving video. So if you're new to this channel, go check that video out as well. It's in the playlist for Computer Science Class 11 crash course. So we take count as 1. Then we check if the count is actually less than equal to 5, because we want to print the first 5 natural numbers. And then we print count, and then we increment it by +1. Now it will get printed from 1 to 5 here. So it will print it from 1 to 5. Now what this does is basically that we take count as 1. Now we see that the count basically is the number of natural numbers which we're wanting to count. So that should be less than 5. Now we print the national number, but after every time we're increasing the count by 1. So let's say first time it was 1. Now 1 is less than equal to 5, so we print 1. Now 1 plus 1 is 2. Then once again count is less than 5, so we print 2. Similarly 3, 4 up till 5 because it's less than equal to 5. Okay. So a really important example, uh, what we can do is that we can use this to actually calculate the factors, and like apart from this there are a lot of questions which you can practice, which can, like, let's say you want to count the number of the let's say you want to print the sum of the digits. So which is basically a number entered by the user. So what you can do is for that is you take the sum as 0, then you take an input from 0, then you check that the range is within the number itself, and you define that digit is basically, like, let's say if you have a number 24, so 4 is comes in the digits place and 2 comes in the tens place. So 4 is a digit. How do you check that is basically you take num divided by 10, which basically gives you the digit, and you have, since you've taken the digit, you have to first declare it to be 0. You can't take it as any other value. Now sum is equal to sum plus num, because what you're doing is you're taking the sum of sum, where sum is initially 0, and you're adding it to the number. Now after that you take the number and you do integer division by 10. But what will happen is that this has to be, first we also, I've actually forgot to mention another condition, that inside the range the number should obviously be more than 0, otherwise it would not give us a correct answer. So this should have indentation in it, but this number is outside the indentation, because what is actually happening in this code is, let's first run it. Okay, now we'll print, let's say we enter the number 25. Let me check my code. Okay, so the sum is 0 and we declare the digit to be 0. Then we take an input from the user and we take the range as the number which is taken as the input. Then if the number is greater than 0, then the digit is equal to the number upon the, oh, I found my mistake. This should have been digit right here. Let's once again take 25. See, so this time the sum of the digit is 7. What happened here is that we took an input from the user. It comes under the range of the number which we've taken as the input. Then we check if the number is more than 0. Then the digit is basically the number mod 10, which basically means that, think of it this way, is, let's say we have a number 15, and if we want to check what comes in the digits place, then if we divide it by 10, then the remainder comes out to be 5, and in 15 5 comes in the digits place, so this becomes a digit. Then we add it to the sum, so sum is initially 0, so sum plus 5 becomes 5. Then this is outside the if loop, this is outside the if statement, if else statement. So what happens is, then now it takes the same number which you had taken initially, which was 15, and it does integer division, which gives us basically the integer, the quotient. So 15 divided by 10 is 1. So what it will do is that it will print this sum. So sum then becomes, let's say we have we took 25, right, in the first case. So for 25, digit place becomes 5, uh, because 25 divided by 10 gives us the remainder as 5, and the number gives us a quotient of 2. Then when the number is 2, then it once again goes to this loop, and the digits place becomes 2. So the sum becomes 2 plus the initial time where we took it to be 5. So 2 plus 5 becomes 7, and that sum is actually printed right here. So this is how we approach, this is a complex problem, so I would recommend you go over this once again and actually try to understand, and go back and watch the video to understand the logic. It's a bit conceptual. Now, I would talk about break and continue statement. So let's say we want to exit from a loop or skips like a certain statement, then we can achieve this by using the break and continue statement. So the break statement actually terminates the current loop and resumes execution of the statement following that loop. Let me take a demonstration which actually explains through an example. See, computer science is all about practice. So the more you practice, the better you'll get at these. So try experimenting with a line of code by yourself. These same problems, try making little bit of variations. Coming back, so let's say we want to use the break statement. So we first take, let's say, a number, we first predefine the number to be 0, then we take the range of the number as 10. Now we what we do is that we increase the number by 1 every time, and we see that if the number, let's say, double equals 5, then we break, and after that what we do is we print the value of the number. Now what you see here is basically, first we take the number as 0, the range as 10. So every time we're increasing the number by 1. But when the number is 5, we break the flow of the loop. So it only prints till 4, because if the number is 5, then we break. Then we print the value of the numbers up till 4, and it excludes 5 because it's broken since after 5. And the break statement is executed and the for loop terminates. Similarly, there's another statement called the continue statement. In a continue statement, the control skips the execution of the remaining statements inside the body of the loop and the current iteration, and actually jumps to the beginning of the loop for the next iteration. So let me make a program which is it's basically the same thing, but in a continue statement the number is not printed, but it moves forward after the number. So let's take the same example, but here what we do is we continue. So what happens is the numbers are printed, 5 is not printed, but it's actually printed up till 10, excluding 5. See, so the number 1 2 3 4 is printed, but if you see here closely, 5 is not printed. So since it's incrementing by 1 every time, if the number is 5, we continue but we don't print it, and because the loop ends, so it also prints other values till the for loop is also terminated. Next is nested loops. A nested loop is a loop inside another loop. So let's say there's one iteration which takes place and there's second another iteration which takes place. So nested loop is basically that. And I told you iterations at the start of the video. So just repetition. So let's say let's make a very simple thing. Let me make a very simple program to help you understand iteration. Okay. So there is one loop and we're placing a for loop inside another for loop, and then we're printing the sum. So what happens is, okay, let's first do a more simple example. So what will happen is that one way of looking at this is that the number the I is from 1 to 2 while j is from 1 to 3, since 4 is not included, since it's the stopping value, and I told you the stopping value it's subtracted by 1, so it's not included. So this one goes till 1 2 3, this one goes till 1 2. So one way of looking at it as, ignore this part and see that it goes from 1 to 3. So 1 to 3 is being printed. Now this takes place two times. So we print 1 to 3 two times. 1 to 3 is in this range and it takes place two times. So this is an easy approach of looking at it. Otherwise, what you can do is you can make actually like a table which is outer and inner. In the outer table, you write down all the numbers. In the inner table, you write down all the numbers. So let me make the table to show what I mean. So let's say this is the outer table and this is the inner table. So what you want to do is, inside the outer table you have 1 and you have 2, and in the inner table what you have is 1, 2, 3, 4. So what you can do is actually here, what you see is that we want to print j, and there's 1 2 3 in 1, and inside the outer table we have 2, but that too after a lot of, yeah, right. So now this is shown properly. Let me explain. So in the outer table first we have 1, so it has 1 2 3 in it. Then the outer table is 2, so in 2 we once again have 1 2 3 in it. So what's actually printed is this inside the inner table. So this becomes 1 2 3 1 2 3. So this is how nested loop takes place. I hope you all understood the video. I would recommend you to practice, because this chapter is once again all about practice. The more you practice, the better you'll get at this. And I have a few questions which you can do for practice. So one could be finding the factorial of a given number. Next, second question, is writing a table of a given number. And the third practice question, which is the last practice question I have for you, is to check so you have to check whether a leap year 1 year is a leap year or not, a table of a given number, and finding the factorial of a given number. So that is all for today's session, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Keep subscribed and do check out our website and Instagram for more such free resources, tutorials, and other content. Thank you so much.